Well, good evening. I'm David Waters. I serve on the board of directors of the Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire, and I represent District 4 in New Hampshire State Senate. More than 20 years ago, I heard there was a woman in Milford named Geri Ann Bogus who wanted to bring Harriet Wilson's book, Our Nig, to the schools and to create a monument to Wilson. Our Nig was published in 1859. It was the first novel ever published by a woman of African descent. It was set in Milford, where Wilson was born and lived as a servant to a white family. I knew I had to meet Geri Ann. Her dream may have seemed impossible, but that statue was dedicated in 2006. And Geri Ann's extraordinary commitment to community building, diversity, and uncovering the hard truths about race in New Hampshire continued through her work on diversity at the University of New Hampshire, co-founding the Black New England Conference with me, directing the Portsmouth Black Heritage Trail, and now as executive director of the new Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire. Now, some of you may have seen the great documentary on her work and that of Valerie Cunningham, Shadows Fall North, which tells the story of their work to transform our state. It is inspiring, but Geri Ann would be the first to tell you that our work has only begun. You will hear this evening about the exciting prospects for the Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire. It is a great pleasure to introduce Geri Ann Bogus, my friend and colleague in the work to recover New Hampshire's Black history and to promote stronger and more diverse New Hampshire communities through a new understanding of New Hampshire's shared history and social justice. Please join me in welcoming Geri Ann Bogus.
Well, thank you so much, David Waters, for that very warm introduction. And I thank the Foundation for this opportunity to talk to you today. Today, I want to share a story with you. I'm an immigrant, American by choice, Jamaican by birth. I know what it is to live in a country where you're the majority, and I also know what it is to live in a country when you're not. This perspective has proven insightful in navigating thorny issues of race here. 20 years ago, as a resident in Milford, I did not know any Black history. I did not know that New Hampshire had any Black history at all. Then, in 2002, I read a newspaper article about Harriet Wilson, a Black author in the 1700s. It was a revelation to me to hear New Hampshire had Blacks in colonial days, and that one of them was the mother of the African-American novel and was born and raised in Milford. That same week, I learned that a local teacher refused to teach Wilson's book. I launched a campaign of public education and advocacy to recognize Harriet Wilson's work. We raised awareness and we raised funds to build the first statue in our state to honor a person of color. Since then, I recognize that the human condition is one of belonging. We simply cannot be our full self, our best self, in isolation. Before Harriet, I was not engaged in our town activities. With Harriet, I discovered roots that grounded me to Milford. I learned that once you feel you belong, you invest, you engage, you participate, indifference falls away. And it's because of this experience that I am so excited about our work today. We have 22 years of success with the Portsmouth Black Heritage Trail, built on Valerie Cunningham's lifetime work of reclaiming and documenting the seacoast Black history. Last year, more than 4,000 people saw our film, Shadows Fall North, and attended our conferences, tea talks, collaborations, tours, and celebrations. This year, Yankee Magazine listed us as the best walking tour in the state. And now we're expanding statewide as the Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire. We will develop K-12 curriculum and educational programs, create online presence, organize exhibits and tours, and institute a statewide marker program. Knowing the lost stories of Black lives offers a counter-narrative and celebrates the resilience, versatility, and courage of African Americans in a state labeled as one of the whitest in the Union. And this can be transformative. We saw evidence of that transformation in Portsmouth when the community came together and corrected a wrong by returning to sacred space the colonial area African burial ground that had been paved over and built on top of. And just last week, Derek Oxford, a former enslaved Revolutionary War soldier from the Upper Valley, was honored by the Plainfield Historical Society with a headstone. In the Foundation's annual report, there is mention of more stories that speak to the vibrant history. An African burying ground in Warner, the founding mother and father of the town of Lampster, one of the country's very first integrated school in Canaan, a Black minister of an all-white congregation in Sutton, a community of African American Revolutionary War veterans and their families in Newport. I've often wondered if it would have made a difference to all involved in last year's near lynching of an 8-year-old boy in Claremont, if they had known that just 7 miles away in Newport, in the 1700s, a community of free Blacks named Coit Mountain after its Black founder, Vance Coit. I believe corrective narratives of local history shatter stereotypes and therefore can reduce people's racial anxieties and prejudices and create a starting point for dialogue and for change. The stories we share are not just about Black people and not just rolled out in February, National Black History Month. They're stories of America's history, all of our histories. Maya Angelou says that history, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. We are on a mission to change hearts and minds. As we share the unvarnished truth of our past, we can understand our present. Understanding our present will shape our future, and there's no better time than now. Thank you.